Why do you all have the same PIN number?
It's Manny Pacquiao's birthday!
Is the Jokoy movie bad? Let's get ready to rumble! Easter Sunday is a 2022 American comedy film starring Jokoy and a stacked Filipino cast, including Tia Carrere, who you might know from Wayne's World, and of course Lou Diamond Phillips. And it's not just the actors. Lots of Hollywood heavyweights were involved in this film. It was produced by DreamWorks and released by Universal. And even Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, helped get this movie made. Apparently, after watching Jokoy's Netflix special, he really wanted to work with him. And this is the first time an all-Asian cast with a Filipino lead was produced by a major Hollywood studio. So obviously, this movie was really hyped up. But when the reviews came out, they looked like this, and this, and this. So was the movie really that bad? Honestly, no. But I will say that the trailer was awful, especially for the Filipino audience. There's jokes like Easter Sunday is the Filipino Super Bowl, which I feel like is Christmas. There are nurse jokes, obviously. And of course, a very cringy Manny Pacquiao joke that Filipinos here didn't find funny at all. But if you look at the comments of the trailer, lots of Filipino-Americans found this hilarious. But the Filipinos who live in the Philippines felt that these jokes were just surface level. I think that the jokes in the trailer show exactly why a lot of Filipinos here don't exactly enjoy Jokoy's comedy. They feel like it's just a bunch of lazy stereotypes. And I feel like because of the trailer, a lot of Filipinos here will be discouraged from watching the film. And while I think that this can be valid criticism for Jokoy's humor, it's not valid criticism for the whole movie. Because if you actually watch the film, you'll see that it's so much more than that. I mean, yes, there are lots of nurse jokes, lots of rice jokes, but there are also elevated Filipino jokes. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Jokoy gets called up to speak in front of the whole church. And he does this stand-up bit about what if Jesus was Filipino? An entire bit about God asking his son to come back home for Easter. And the movie actually talks about the exploitation of the Filipino accent. Jokoy plays Joe, who is a struggling actor / comedian, and he's about to be cast in the sitcom if he does a Filipino accent, which he doesn't want to do because it makes no sense. He didn't want to be just the weird, funny accent guy. And a lot of the funniest scenes in the movie aren't even Filipino related. Tiffany Haddish is hilarious in the film. She plays Jokoy's ex, who's a cop now, who hates him because he cheated on her in the past. And Jimmy Yang plays a black market clothes vendor, and he has really good chemistry with Joe's character. But the movie is really about family, and specifically a Filipino-American family. Joe is this guy who's hustling just to give his son a good life. But by doing so, he kinda neglects his family. And then there's his son, Joe Jr., who is this 1/4 Filipino teenager who's not exactly in touch with his Filipino roots. And he's honestly one of my favorite characters in the movie because of the journey that his character goes through. This journey to discover more about his Filipino roots. And he does this through meeting this girl named Tala, who I would describe as Haley Steinfeld if Haley Steinfeld was half Filipino instead of an eighth Filipino. I can't be the only person who sees the resemblance, right? But she's played by Eva Noblezada, who is an insanely talented actress, and a Tony-nominated actress at that. She plays this girl who is every tito, tita's idea of an ideal girlfriend for their nephew. A Filipino-American character who is very in touch with her Filipino roots. And this Joe Jr. Tala storyline is honestly the best part of the movie. He calls her his daily city spirit guide, and she teaches him all about Filipino culture, like what halo-halo is, and how fun Filipino dinners are. And in one scene where he lashes out against his dad, she talks to him, and she says that we don't talk to our parents like that here. And I think this storyline will resonate with a lot of Filipino-Americans who aren't exactly in touch with their culture. And based on stories I've heard from my cousins and other relatives in the States, this is a problem a lot of Filipino-Americans have. That they feel that they aren't Filipino enough, but at the same time, not American enough. But the great thing about this movie is that it doesn't shit on the character for not being Filipino enough. The movie doesn't shame him. It allows him to discover his roots, his culture, and I think that's beautiful. I think that's the best way to encourage people to be more in touch with their roots. And I know that some Filipinos will criticize this part of the movie. They'll say that halo-halo, pinipig, tito, tita, lola, that these things aren't really Filipino culture, that they're just surface level things. But I think that when you grow up learning about your culture from a different place, you latch on to specific things. I can imagine someone growing up in the States in the early 2000s knowing nothing about their culture and then seeing Manny Pacquiao beating up some of the best boxers of all time. Of course, you're gonna love him, right? So if for someone, Filipino culture is all about adobo, halo-halo, and Manny Pacquiao, who are we to say that that's not what culture is about, right? For me, I was raised in Manila by a mother who was born and raised in Negros. So I think of bacolod as inasal, as sugarcane, as these things that I grew up loving. But for someone who grew up in bacolod, they might think that these things are just surface level. That these things aren't exactly what Negrense culture is all about. And when you think about it, what is Filipino culture really? We live in this big-ass country that's bigger than North and South Korea combined. It's a place where Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao are so different from each other culturally. Filipino is the national language, but in Visayas and Mindanao, they don't really speak Filipino unless they're talking to someone from Manila. And even the accent they use in the movie,
We should put them both in the box and ship it.
I don't think I sound like that. Maybe a Lola from Manila might sound like that, but a Lola from another part of the Philippines probably doesn't sound like that. My tita Lidlid actually plays Jokoy's mom in the movie. And of course, she's supposed to have the Filipino accent, right? I mean, she's Jokoy's mom, the person who Jokoy talks about and impersonates the most. But tita Lidlid doesn't actually sound like this in real life. She spent a lot of time in the States, so she has like an American accent. But even her original accent, it does not sound like this. Kaya sa Bacolod, ang accent namon kasaka kag ganaog. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's really hard to define being Filipino, Filipino-ness, or Filipino culture. We have debates about culture all the time. So we shouldn't expect this movie to portray something that we can't even define. I mean, it's a comedy, right? If you want something that discusses Filipino culture quite well, I think, you should watch The Debut, starring a young Dante Basco. It's a really good movie, which I think you should check out. But culture stuff aside, let's talk about the movie as a movie. It's a film that has a little bit for everyone. There's family drama, there's like a Fast and the Furious type car chase, teen rom-com, and some gang-related stuff as well. And for the most part, a lot of it was well executed. I think everything except for maybe the gang stuff, which I didn't find believable at all. Sorry bro, you're just not scary. But I think that in trying to appeal to lots of people, the movie kinda loses me. There's just so many elements that it gets kinda distracting. And this is also true for some of the characters. And I get that the point is to show that Filipino families are huge, which is true. But I feel like it was just Joe, Eugene, and then Tala and Junior sometimes. I wish we could have seen like a side quest with Tito Manny or Tito Arthur. Kasi sobrang sayang naman yung mga interesting characters kung hindi natin nakikita. And I think lots of people can relate to these characters. I feel like everyone has a tito who's a little too crazy with his balisong, right? And I guess a little bit of criticism, some of their Filipino wasn't so good. I get that some of these actors don't really speak Filipino. But come on, are you telling me that DreamWorks didn't have the budget for a Filipino language coach? Really? These are characters that have the Filipino accent, but then they say Tito or Tita. But maybe I'm nitpicking here, I feel like this is forgivable. But I think what's less forgivable is the translation, the subtitles while people are speaking in Filipino. And one line in particular where a character is talking about Junior. Sabi niya, hindi siya talaga Pinoy, which translates to, he's not a real Filipino. But according to the subtitle, hindi siya talaga Pinoy translates to, he's Filipino-American, which insinuates that Filipino-Americans aren't real Filipinos, which I think is inaccurate and maybe a little problematic. Other than that, I really hated the Eugene character. I'm sorry. He causes almost all the problems of the movie that Jokoy then has to go fix. And the actor does his best. He's really charming, really charismatic and funny, but he's just too stupid to be redeemed for me, and I hated him all throughout the movie. And aside from that, I felt like lots of the characters were underutilized. Especially Joe's sister, who plays the nurse. She's the nurse, and basically that's that. She doesn't really get any screen time aside from nurse duties. Alright, so big question time. Is Easter Sunday as bad as people are making it out to be? Of course not. But is it the perfect movie? Also no. I mean, it's a comedy, right? So it really shouldn't be. I feel like 90% of comedies have a terrible score on Rotten Tomatoes. That might be a made-up statistic by me, but I feel like it's true. Critics shat all over White Chicks, which I think is one of the most hilarious movies of all time. So I think the question should be, is the movie worth watching? Which the answer is a big yes. It reminds me of the movies I used to watch with my family when I was growing up. Old school Adam Sandler movies, so think less Jack and Jill and more bedtime stories or blended. So please, watch this movie with your family. I really hope that the film succeeds. Because say what you want about Jokoy's comedy, but you can't deny that he really loves our culture. And we should be proud that someone like Jokoy fought really hard to get our culture represented. We should be really proud of him for achieving this. Rolling Stone actually called this movie a big screen pitch for Jokoy to get his own sitcom. And I would have to agree, because at the end of the movie, he actually gets his own sitcom. And I would honestly love to see Jokoy and the whole cast come together to make a TV show. I think it'd be really funny. And I'd love to explore all the characters so much more. So, the Jokoy movie, Easter Sunday. What did you guys think about it? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you cringe? Let me know, comment down below, and while you're here, I hope you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you love this content, I hope you can consider becoming a member on the channel. As little as 50 pesos goes a long way to help me continue to create content like this for all of you guys. And as always, shout out to the Mother Lily channel members, Ashley Martelino and Ma'am Gay Ace Domingo. Thank you so much for all your support. And until next time, peace and I love y'all.
Hoy mga Pinoy, ito na ang medisina. Nagbabagong apoy, linagyan ng gasolina. Kaya't tinatanong pa ba kung kanino at sino ang tiyak na puntahan sa kulturang Pilipino? Ako na ang sagot, ang dakilang gamot.